the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. All of us use one of these, or that, or this, or that. The mobile industry is not static, and due to its dynamism, new things keep happening that takes customers unawares. With complaints ranging from my phone is not working, I have been wrongly charged, someone has stolen my credits, to fraudsters trying to con Momo customers. So from the last Tuesday of every other month, we're kickstarting an online series dubbed Chamber Dialogue. We intend to use this dialogue to inform, share, using seasoned subject matter experts, and of course, you. We are confident this activity will deepen your knowledge and insights and help you make better and informed decisions about your mobile phone. At the end of all these interactions, we would wish to see an industry where customers love the culture of do-it-yourself, that's the DIY, rather than the existing norm, DIFM, do it for me. Come with me. Hello, good afternoon. People say telecommunications, others say technology. Some say ICT, but I think it encompasses the two. Welcome to the maiden edition of the Chamber Dialogue. And we promised we're going to bring in seasoned subject matter experts to deal with issues surrounding telecommunications and technology. And it's all about you, the customer. So I have with me here in the studio Madam Audrey Kwaku, who is with the EPA, and she's the head of client relations and business development. Welcome, Audrey.
Thank you, Derek.
Okay, so we're just going to be talking today about telecommunications musts and sites we find in our communities, what it means for the consumers, and what the Environmental Protection Agency does in that respect. So my first question to you, Audrey, will be, what is the Environmental Protection Agency?
Okay, so the Environmental Protection Agency is a regulatory body which was set up by an Act of Parliament, Act 490, to actually co-manage and protect the environment.
Okay, and what does the Environmental Protection Agency do in the regulation of telcos and towercos and other service providers who cite masts within our communities?
So as per our legislative instrument 1652, the Environmental Assessment Regulations, any project or development which is seen to have an adverse effect on the environment must at least register with the agency, and through the registration obtain an environmental permit. So generally what the agency does is that the telecommunication service providers fall under this, and so they are supposed to obtain environmental permits for their operations in the community.
Okay, and what are some of the key requirements that these service providers, like i.e. the telcos and the towercos, what are some of the key requirements that they go through to acquire? I ask this question because usually the general public think that we cite the masts based on where we feel we want to put them. But what are some of the key requirements? But we go through some approval processes, as you rightly said. So what are some of the key requirements that we go through with you before we are able to acquire these permits?
Okay, so basically, before any telco can operate a mast, a tower with the antenna, or what we call the base stations, you need to obtain an environmental permit. And there are certain things that you would have to do before you can obtain the environmental permit. The first thing is that you need to apply to the agency. So usually they would fill an application form. The application form would ask basic questions on where are you going to site, what are the adjacent land uses, what are some of the infrastructure that you intend to build there, what do you think during your operations the environmental impacts will be, and how do you intend to manage them. You make these submissions, you include your site plan, which indicates where it's going to be located. You also indicate the layout, the block plan, indicating the layouts of facilities.
Okay.
We also ask for supporting documents. You need to have some kind of letter from the town and country planning, which is now LUPSA, to indicate that that site is okay. And then we also ask for neighborhood consent. So usually the neighbors in the immediate environment, to see, you need to submit that also.
So it means that we need to do certain basically before we put out these masks, we're supposed to do some engagements
Exactly.
with the neighbors within that neighborhood so that they appreciate the presence of the tower.
Exactly.
Okay, so what issues of concern from customers does the EPA or the environmental protection generally take into consideration before granting these permits?
Yeah, I think it's good to discuss this. I mean, Derek, we know we've had this problem since this influx of telecommunication masks came way back 2009 thereabouts, where people were not sure of what the effects of such things would be on their health, for example. Even structural integrity is one of the issues. But one of the key issues of concern these days is about noise, because you realize that a lot of the times the power fluctuates.
So the generators that we're using.
So the generators, some run their generators 24/7, which causes a lot of noise, and the fumes from the gen sets also affect people. So that is one of the key things that we get complaints on. Sometimes we get complaints on structural integrity, but with the issue of structural integrity, it usually falls under the purview of the assembly. So I'm sure you would get them on the program for them to also enlighten us on some of these issues.
Yeah.
Basically, those are the key complaints. But of course, most people do not necessarily want these structures in their background. So you can get complaints that may not necessarily be, related in a way to the tower, but you still get these complaints.
So Audrey, I think one critical point that you made, which I thought was good, it will be good for the consumers, is, these towers that we see in our communities, people see them and they assume that they are all telecom towers. I must say that I believe that when I say service providers, it's not all of them that are telecom towers. Some are also for broadcasting. So for those doing TV and radio, we see these huge towers in our communities. Do they also go through the same process of...
They all go through the same process of obtaining environmental permits. Even the FM stations, they all go through the same process of obtaining environmental permits before they start operations.
Good.
And the environmental permits, I must indicate, are renewable.
They are renewable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So they have to continue the process of renewing them.
So typically, how long does it take per the law that you quoted for me earlier, how long does it take for a service provider to be able to get permits?
Okay, the law has given us 25 working days, but nowadays they get it sometimes within 2-3 weeks. They're able to acquire the permit. But that is if you have all the supporting documents.
Okay. Yeah. Now I have an interesting question for you, but let me take a quick 1-minute break and we'll be right back.
I told me I'm very quick. Here, Jamestown, British Accra. Warrior. The one where they were use of phone. Phone, wow, why, or no tomorrow. Equal, you what they were. The machine, a bow now. When you were use of phone, by spoon. Bonafe. Nikaji, I just spoon about happy war. Kakawana. And you know, when you were use of phone. Ekwe wo femu aja wonye wa krego techi lo otama lo nyanyanu ona bona finish ko bi amena agachi wo ben show yin kega ma me ametui enyo amem no wo yuso wo ga ha wo customers kaji wo ga lo e ba phone wo twa o ga twa ame ni ame ba ni wo ga tu on lo gbagyan lo to mobile phone help me wa Erection.
Hello and welcome back from the break. I've been having conversations with Audrey Kwaku, who is from the EPA, and we've been talking about telecommunications masts in our community and sites and what it means for you, the consumer. Audrey, welcome back.
Well, thank you, Derek.
So I was going to ask you a question about, customers, we always say in this side of town, the customer is always right. But you rightly said we've been doing this for the last 10 years, and we talked about customers. We've seen instances where some customers are just being naughty. So I know of a typical example. We know between me and you, we know some critical areas in Accra where sites or people run into courts and all that. In one breath, the customer wants the service, but in another breath, they don't want to see the site. But that's the only way through which we can also generally provide the service to them. And usually we hear complaints like when you go to Europe, when you go to Dubai, you don't see masts. Yes, because there are a lot of skyscrapers and high-rise buildings where we are able to put the antennas on there so that we do not worry the aesthetics of the environment and the customers are happy. But I know of a typical example of a customer who wanted us to put a cell site in his compound, because when we put the cell sites there and the tower is sitting in your compound, we pay you rent because we are sited the equipment in your facility. So he wanted the thing in his cell site, the cell site in his compound. Now, per the technical standards that we use and all the geolocation points that we pick to understand where to drop the mast, we felt that his house would not help siting the mast there. So we took it like 4 adjoining homes from his house. And he was not happy, he was not amused. Now, this customer thought that we just didn't want to put it there and we had given the site to another person. So he was so upset, he started running around, going through the media houses, writing letters to EPA, coming to your offices, and he was saying that the mast it gives malaria, it disturbs us in the neighborhood and all that. But he wanted it because he thought he was going to get some rent. Now, from your point of view and the work that you do, how is the EPA able to balance fairness with regards to complaints from customers, and then also ensuring that service providers are given the right hearing and also get the right leeway to be able to deploy this infrastructure and also do their work?
Okay, thank you, Derek. I think what you are saying is true. We have a lot of people who come into our offices with such complaints. We do not necessarily have any influence in terms of determining the site, as Derek has explained. However, when they come in with their complaints, the first thing we do is to go and investigate to find out whether it's true. I mean, we all know that the towers don't give malaria, but however, whatever complaints, we do some investigation to determine whether it's true. So when we find out that the reason for the complaints is probably because of some of the issues Derek indicated, we try to dialogue with the complainants as much as possible. I mean, we have offices located all over the country, in the regions, we have area offices, and we try to come down to the level of the complainant. So if it means speaking in the local language, we will, to explain the reasons why probably the telecom provider chose that site, and to let the person understand that we don't have any say when it comes to compensation for using your land.
Okay, earlier on you talked about the fact that one of the key considerations has been noise.
Yes.
I know that customers are concerned. That I have some of those concerns, particularly when I talk to you about churches in my neighborhood disturbing us at night and all that. But I know recently the EPA had, I think a couple of years ago, the EPA had instructed the telcos that they should purchase, or as part of your approval process, you like to approve silent generators so that you can still operate the 24-hour. Basically, if it's an area that even has electricity, if there's a power fluctuation, you can still provide the service, but with low noise so that you do not disturb the customers. But you're also a customer, Audrey, and I want to just ask you this. This is a very personal question. It might not necessarily be EPA's opinion, but just to push you a bit, what do you think when a customer wants service and wants legitimately, I've bought a SIM card, I have a smartphone, I want to be able to browse, I want to be able to call my family and friends and enjoy the service and the network, but in another breath, I don't want the infrastructure. How do we marry the two? Because for us as service providers, there's also that huge challenge, because you want to be able to provide seamless, flawless, first-class, world-class telecommunication service like the way we see and enjoy it when we visit our friends in US and the rest. But how are we able to, what do you think, or how do we basically run the ecosystem in such a way that we can be able to balance that interest against what should happen for the service provider as against the concerns that the customers have? Is there any assurances that you can give to the customer?
Well, I mean, Derek, as you rightly said, I'm also a customer, I'm also a consumer. I mean, we see some of these things within our neighborhoods.
Exactly.
What we have done, and I think the Ghana Investment Fund
for electronic
Communication, GIFEC, has for the past, I've forgotten the number of years, but maybe for the past 8 years,
yes,
raising awareness on sighting of telecom masts and the potential effects, if any. And they've been doing this together with stakeholders. So EPA is part of them, the National Communication Authority is part of it, the Radiation Protection Institute of the Ghana Atomic Agency is also part of it, and other relevant stakeholders. And so we go out to the various regions, communities, to do some outreach and to discuss and allay the fears of the consumers, and they come out with questions, and we try as much as possible to answer the questions. So basically that's what we are doing, and we continue to dialogue. I mean, we understand that in the future we are expecting that the telecom providers or the service providers will come out with infrastructure which would not be alarming, because some people do not like the fact that they have these lattice infrastructure in their backyard, etc. But basically, it is a continuous dialogue, and we are happy that the Chamber has taken this initiative to actually dialogue with the regulatory institutions for us to also be able to inform the general public and our cherished clients that we are there for them, and we would address any complaints or issues that they submit to us.
Audrey, but as we're wrapping this up, over the last 10 years, the complaints we all rightly know has dipped, because there's now a general appreciation of what these towers are, and if they were harmful, if they were potentially, we would have known by now. We would have seen the major effects by now. I know I'm going to be bringing in the radiation guys in my next edition, so I'm not bringing any radiation questions your way. But I know that the EPA itself is a very proactive agency, and I've witnessed some of the engagements and how we've evolved from just the EPA taking complaints and acting on them to now even going with the operators and the service providers to engage the customers, so that if the operator talks or the service guy talks, it's not just about the fact that he wants to do business in your community, but you also have the regulatory person in there to also explain what they do and how the customers can be assured that they will not become their health and everything, or their safety will not be compromised in one way or the other. But most importantly, what can the customers do if they want to reach out to the EPA? I think that is important that you share with us.
Okay, so if you are a customer or even just the general public, reach out to the agency, you can go to any regional office. There's an EPA there. That's the first point, and lodge any complaint or issue of concern that you may have. You can also go to our website, which is www.epa.gov.gh, where we have the grievance redress mechanism, and you can fill in a form which is there and then submit to the agency. You can also contact us or send an email to the client.relations@epa.gov.gh to lodge your complaint. You can also contact me directly on 0501 301 404 if you have any complaints. I must say that in as much as we want development, we do not want to stifle development, but we also want to ensure sustainable development. And the EPA is there to protect the general public and the general citizenry. So when you contact us and we work together to co-manage the environment, I'm sure we will all live happily ever after.
Thank you very much, Audrey. It's been glad having you. Now, viewers, I hope you enjoyed my session with Audrey. I'll be coming to you every other Tuesday, and then also within the every other, we'll be having Tech Tuesdays, and we'll be talking about some technology-related issues.
Your friend was Isaac. We were London market. Me ye juma me sasa bidie na ebro. Me ye ebro waka mu bidie waka mu. Na me use phone. Phone na me use no de ye juma pa. Ai na nkrofo hia me a o mo de frɛ me. Ye tumi frɛ mo the station.
nungwa tashi labad achimota mkoyi load ejuma me ye no obi ahia me a oflefa me e wo phone so ntimi phone ya ade bia me nkonja no ebu kura me niska kura me tumiti wa na matare me phone e bele me pick ya na sikwe size ejuma be pio achimoto na mafla boys na me no me ye no na yakoyi yekoyi kura na se wenye skin try ya kakura ye betumi aba obetumi da send mo mobile money mobile phone help me wa